We're here with Jay Brooks, founder and CEO of GlassView. How are you doing?
Good. How are you, Keith?
Good. So the first question, the big one, why is attention important for, advertising and marketing?
Well, I think it's important because when people put their attention on something, look what they can accomplish, right? So, everything from the creation of nuclear energy to putting a man on the moon. When we devote our attention to something, the results can be nothing short of miraculous.
It seems like attention is a very hot topic in 2022 and is expected to continue for 2023. Any reason why that is? Is it that the technology is caught up to the ambitions, or that more brands are looking for a stronger way to measure their advertising?
I think simplistically, if you think about the marketing funnel as sort of, upper funnel is just awareness, and then sort of below that you have attention, and then maybe some action driving sales, and then advocacy below that. What's interesting about digital is that if you think about 10 years ago, when there was all this interest on virality, getting sort of share with your friends, share this video, ring up the views. And that's almost, all the way at the bottom of the funnel, sharing the brand, advocacy. And so it's almost like we went from awareness up here all the way to the bottom of the funnel. Then more recently, over the past 5 years or so, there's been this sort of ardent focus on conversions, driving towards last click attribution, direct response type advertising. And so we moved up the funnel a bit towards action. But all the while, I think we've really been missing out on sort of this upper funnel piece, which is attention. And that's where you have the opportunity to make people actually feel something and remember your brand long term. It's sort of a circuitous way of getting back to what really matters in marketing from the first place.
What are your thoughts on, there's obviously creative attention measurement, looking at the actual content and how it might perform, and then there's the environments. Should those be working together? Should they be viewed separately? What's your advice to brands as they're thinking about those two major facets of what makes an advertising campaign effective?
Oh yeah, they have to be used together. And I think interestingly, over the past 5 or 10 years, as we've had this focus on sort of direct response results, a lot of the big players that are sort of seen as below the line activation players have been sort of driving the bus. And the common cry you heard in the industry was, "Oh, creative doesn't matter. We have optimization tactics and algorithms that can drive performance and get you the conversions you're looking for. Don't worry about the creative. That's an afterthought." Well, I think brands are realizing not so quickly that was probably ill-advised. And I think through customer attrition, I think through brands losing market share. Never before have brands' market share been so in flux now. And I think that the sort of stalwarts, the brands that focused on brand building, on developing long-term customer relationships, those have always been the winners throughout marketing history, and they'll continue to win.
And obviously, 2023 is a time of a bit of economic uncertainty. What's the sort of case to marketers as they're thinking about cost, about how important it is to continue to invest in attention measurement for the efficacy of campaigns?
Sure. To answer that question, I would almost look at the opposite. So at GlassView, we actually did a study where we noticed that one of our financial clients started to move from sort of attention metrics, time spent on site, building, customer building exercises to, first of all, it was post-impression attribution, and then lastly, it was post-click attribution. So they were moving to the bottom of the funnel. And they were a really, they have been a really awesome partner of ours, in that they shared with us from the onset customer lifetime value. So they were passing back information as to the CLVs that we were creating and driving for them. And so customers who, may have just gotten a credit card, that was, one sort of bucket, but customers who had a mortgage, a credit card, and other financial products were really sort of tied in with this client. And we saw as they optimized in towards the lower parts of the funnel, the customer lifetime value decreased directly with the investment towards DR only tactics, and it decreased at an exponential rate. And so what we learned very quickly is that if you're not focusing on that brand building, if you're not focusing on developing relationships with your customer base, you may get the quick wins down here, the transactional quick wins now, but at what cost in the future for your brand?
So there's obviously brands that have been leading the charge towards attention, that are on panels, or talking to the media, are the first to experiment. What's the best advice for the lagging brands who have committed to 2023 getting smarter about their measurement? How do they dive into attention if they haven't been doing it before?
I would say think about the long term. I would ask for as much partnership as available from customer bases. Sharing all sorts of customer lifetime information is sort of a gold standard. And I would say, test and learn, realizing that there are different parts of this sort of not only marketing funnel, but the science funnel to understand attention. So, if you've only been doing surveys for now, maybe that's part of the sociology, the psychology, the softer sciences. Who's my target audience? Where do they live? And maybe what makes them tick, as self-reported. I think as you move down the science funnel into psychology, biology, even chemistry and physics, you start to understand better, almost from a frequency and molecular level, what makes your customers tick. And so I think Realeyes has been really leading the charge in this area, which is, basing their technology on physiological responses, which are, not sort of passing through the lens of how should I respond? What does the panelist want me to say? It's a real-time response from these micro expressions that are being assessed. So that's really moving down the funnel. And then I think even in the future, there are going to be opportunities to look at, brainwave activity, looking at neuromarketing, what sort of neurological responses are these ads creating to my target audience, and how can we do more of that? So if you haven't done it yet, get your feet wet and start thinking about a sort of multifaceted approach to gauging attention that is more undeniable, that is more data-driven. I am in meetings frequently where clients say to me, attention is scarce, we've got to get people's attention. And I don't know that I fully subscribe to that. I think attention is valuable. And I think opportunity to get attention is becoming more scarce. But if you look at, what we've been able to create as a society, as a human race, when we put our attention onto something is nothing short of invigorating. And so I would say that, rather than sort of poo-pooing this diminishing attention, which I'm not so sure exists, if you look at all other metrics, including creation, if you look at, the words written, there's been more written and published since 2000 than all the decades and centuries and millennia before. If you look at the art that's being created now, if you look at the technology, the innovation that's being driven right now, sure, we may say that, if you get a stopwatch and people's attention is going from an average of 3 minutes to 1.5 minutes 10 years ago to now 75 seconds or less, then it paints this, I think, unrealistic picture of what's happening. At the same time, attention is supposedly going down. Creation, innovation, and connection with people is going up dramatically. So let's not fight the trend. Let's capitalize on it. Let's get smarter together and figure out better ways to harness attention for good.